Hey everyone, I'm going to provide you with the strategies that I use in writing my med school essays and provide you with the ones that I wrote in order to demonstrate to you how you could use these techniques when you are writing your own. Personally, I found writing this section to be pretty difficult, and the space isn't that big, and I'm pretty chatty, or I'm verbose, depends how you look at it. If you're having difficulty with it, don't worry. I know it's difficult and it's gonna be cool. Let's get into it, guys. The first thing you need to do is take your activity or your accomplishment or whatever, and you need to link that to how it drives you to specifically become a medical doctor. It relates to the fact that there are many careers in medicine, but you need to provide a reason why this drives you not only to want to help people, but to help people specifically in the capacity of being a medical doctor. Comprendes? As an example of this, you could describe an activity you did in college. Say it's like being a tutor. You could talk about how transformative it was for you and how you love to be a tutor so much. How you want to spend the rest of your life as a tutor. You look smart, and you look compassionate, and you look like a good teacher, but it doesn't say why you want to become a doctor at all. In fact, it kind of suggests you should go spend your life as a tutor. So I want you to outline the reasons that the activity you're talking about specifically pertains to you being a better doctor, or how it outlines personality traits that you have that will make you an excellent doctor. As you're reading through the statements that you've made, ensure that it's made plain that the overarching theme of your career is that an MD is right for you. One shouldn't be able to read all your activities and say, why doesn't this person just become a blank? Like, why doesn't this person just become a nurse? Why doesn't this person just become a social worker? Like, why doesn't this person just become one of several hundred different activities where you're helping people in a different capacity? Number two, before writing down the activity itself, write down the personality traits that you learned about yourself in the process of the experience, or something you developed which you believe is pertinent to you becoming a medical doctor. If you outline this beforehand, you'll be able to be steered towards what you want to write about. If you didn't journal during these activities, then look at some photos of when you were doing them. Or you could speak to some people that you did the activities with. This will help jog your memory and remind you of the things you did, and then you could say, hey, like, I have all these super cool traits that I learned during this time. Number three, use we phrases. More than I phrases, use we phrases. We phrases often sound more collegiate, they sound more humble, and a lot of the times they're also more accurate than I statements. For example, I was able to build houses for people in underserved areas. Were you really able to build houses by yourself? Can I see those massive muscles that you got from building all those houses just by yourself? The truth is, you all built those houses together, you and the organization. It's not just you. It's we. It's more humble, it sounds more relatable, and it demonstrates that you can work as a team with human beings, which is something you're gonna need to be doing constantly in medical school. Now, for something you did do alone, sure, be honest and say that you did it by yourself. But remember, putting we a lot of the times just sounds better than I. A way you could approach this is you could state the mission that we had during an activity, and then you can go into all the reasons you did it personally and all the things you personally did and your personal responsibilities. Number four, stay positive. The person who's reading your application, like most people on the face of the earth, like to feel good. By casting things in a positive light, the person who's reading it is able to come away from your work and activity sections without an entirely negative view of you, or without a view that you view things as negatively, if you get what I mean. When possible, but not sociopathically, talk about things positively. Obviously, there are certain things that you need to speak about in a serious fashion. However, a lot of things need to be cast in a positive light in order to give the idea that you're a positive person and making it enjoyable to read your application. Number five, this is the most important one, is write a story. Write a small story with every single one of these. Human beings love stories. We love characters, we love development, and we love surprises. It's why some of the oldest relics of our species are cave paintings and oral traditions, right? Use this to write your work and activity section. Describe the characters you encountered, be they people you helped, people who taught you, or yourself as a character. Make a protagonist, make an antagonist, be it a force or a human being. Hopefully a force, it's a bit better that way, isn't it? What would a story be without engaging the senses? Use how things looked, how they smelled, and how they tasted, and what's the other one? how I felt, I guess. You could use that. If you don't use these senses, then your application will probably stink, pun intended. So we've laid the groundwork out. Let's get into some concrete examples of how I use these strategies in writing my own essays. From my sophomore to senior year of college, I was part of a team investigating pollution, source receptor model validation, and anaerobic mercury methylation. Our research team was cross-collaborative, funded through student-earned grants, and focused on elucidating the mechanism by which organomercury compounds are produced. One of the highlights of working with this team was traveling to Sacramento to present our findings at the Society of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry. Here, we disseminated our results, communicated with other scientists about how we can improve one another's research tactics, and bonded over our passion for studying toxicology. So, one can notice when reading this is that I really laid down the our statements, how to work with this team. It was cross-collaborative. These are a lot of different things that will suggest that I'm part of a team. I'm not just a rogue that is working for myself and trying to show how intelligent I am. It's obvious that you're going to be smart if you're doing research. It's even better if you're smart and collaborative. Make sure to demonstrate that you can work with human beings. The next experience is one of my most meaningful. As we go through this, I'm going to point out those different mechanisms that I used to write. Working at the Vista Center has given me perspective of how impaired people are disadvantaged in our society and the difference we can make in people's lives with our time. Starting off with a we statement. I started volunteering in the April of 2020 for 6 hours a week by transferring patient paper charts over to EHR, and eventually an opportunity arose to assist a client named John. John, that's a pseudonym, right? Of course, we're using pseudonyms during this for everything, all the doctors and everything. You're gonna wanna use pseudonyms. And as I'm describing John, I'm gonna make him a character, right? We're telling a story here. John was left for days without sustained contact or a good place to live during the pandemic. The first time I volunteered with him, his room was littered with rotting food, overturned urinals, and garbage. This evokes obviously terrible senses, but it's evoking senses, right? It's getting you into the story. I spent hours cleaning that first day. I was sobered to the reality that many people with disabilities face in our society, as I saw John struggle to manage his finances, gain contact with friends, and make use of technology, as well as get places. Over time, he and I became good friends, and being able to improve his life filled me with purpose. I have been inspired by our organization's doctors who work late nights without compensation. I want to go back for a second so that we can discuss, I had a character here, and then we had a conflict, and then we had a resolution and an improvement. So things are cast in a positive light. You generally want to do this. So you want to pick a story that shows you in a positive light, make a character, have some sort of conflict enter the scene, and then show how that conflict is overcame and the qualities that you have that prove that you will be a good medical doctor. I've been inspired by our organization's doctors who work late nights without compensation, our visually impaired volunteers who push themselves to improve others' lives, and everyday people who go the extra mile to help someone who is impaired. This community is exceptional and has shown me that beyond the clinic, there's an entire side of medicine that many do not see. There's the thing I learned. All right, next thing we got here is my time as a medical assistant. I worked as a retinal technician for a year before becoming an ophthalmic assistant in cataract surgery. I learned how to work with a team of healthcare professionals in an intense environment, how interesting and beautiful successful surgery is. Our team worked up patients for their exams, collected metrics, that's an our team, collected metrics and diagnostics for surgery, went over forms, answered questions regarding operations, prepared patients to enter the operating room, and monitored their post-operative recovery. So I stated everything I did. I listed us as a team. It's important to list yourself as a team and the things you did as well. Time management skills were extremely important, as we needed to make patients feel listened to and attended to while completing the necessary procedures in a timely manner. I enjoyed the responsibility of caring for patients, the complexity of the surgery we performed, and the feeling of worth I gained by helping my community. The doctor was not only a world-class surgeon, but a fantastic teacher. The doctor, let's call him Dr. Tony, all right? Dr. Tony, I'm making a character here, right? He understood my passion for medicine and would highlight and explain outstanding cases. I began to see how expansive the world of ophthalmic surgery is. As a surgeon must synchronize optics, biology through keen skill and knowledge. This character I've developed, who just happens to really exist, is now communicating with me, and you see kind of a story developing, right? These experiences gave me an acute interest in ophthalmic surgery, and I have become impassioned to pursue it as a career as a result. At Onterra, we design point-of-care diagnostic devices which utilize solid-state nanopore technology to rapidly and accurately detect diseases such as COVID-19. So now I'm going into my responsibilities. I refine the interactions between our reagents and core nanopore technology, manufacture reagents en masse for clinical validation, coordinate with other departments to innovate our device, coordination, and design experiments to troubleshoot problems. Since I began working here in July of 2020, I've learned how rewarding it is to work with a large team towards a common goal. That's what you're going to be doing in medicine. You're going to be working with a big team. I've gained a greater appreciation for human ingenuity as my colleagues and I have stepped beyond our conceived occupational roles to improve our technology. During medical school, I would like to conduct research focusing on the molecular basis of disease. So now I moved away from the we into the me, right? So you get an idea of myself as a unit. I'm an absolute unit. This interest has developed from my fascination with the mechanisms of molecular biology and the tools we use to observe them, and my experiences working with patients who have ocular diseases. So I'm providing that I understand the mechanisms of biology, that I can work with a team, and that I want to apply this to working with patients, which is something a doctor does, right? The ability to synthesize science and human interaction, health and science. We put them together. That's a doctor, baby.